Alright, so let's say we're going to make a fishing lure. Make sure the silicone mold is clean. It's not in this, but you can just use some Dawn dish soap and an old toothbrush. I had run out of resin by the time I filmed this, so we're just going to play pretend. But you've got your input hole, you've got a little vent there for excess resin and air to bleed out. First thing you're going to want to do is get some really cheap masking tape. I wouldn't waste the money on like the expensive blue painter's tape or anything, because this is just going to clamp the silicone together. But go ahead and you're probably going to want to do 3 strips around the top of the mold. You'll also notice I'm working in a paint tray. That way, if there's any gunk or junk or anything else gets mixed up in there, that kind of falls on the plastic. Also, the angle that it sits at kind of helps with the lead for later. Just make sure everything's lined up correctly as you're taping, that way you don't get a casting that's off register. Make sure you also do that single vertical taping between the two input and vent holes, just to kind of hold everything together. Here we're grabbing our measuring cup that should have a 30 ml mark on it, a larger plastic mixing cup for all the resin, a little popsicle stick to mix it all together with, and the best resin I've used is this fast cast stuff. You can get it at Joann's. When I bought it, there was a sale or a coupon or something. You also need some lead split shot for weight. You can use tungsten if you like, but the lead is nice and soft. So again, I'm out of resin at this point, so we're going to be mixing with water, but it at least gives you the right idea. First thing we're going to do is pour 30 mLs of the Part A mix and then dump that into our larger mixing cup. And again, since this is water, it's a lot thinner than the actual resin. We'll also do 30 mLs of the Part B mix and mix that all together. And since this stuff has fast in the name, you really have about 1 minute to get this mixed thoroughly. You want it to be 100% mixed between the two parts. There's a little slight color difference, so you'll be able to tell a little bit better with the actual resin. But slowly scrape around the outside of the mixing cup as well as the bottom to make sure there's nothing kind of sitting there. And I don't really do it too well in this, but you're going to want to mix slow so you don't introduce any air bubbles into your resin. So now we're going to pour our 60 mLs of resin into the filling hole, which is the larger of the two. Don't be like me and pour a bunch of the water resin all over the place. But once you get those 60 mLs in there, you're going to want to add probably about a half a bag of the split shot. We can probably fine tune the weight later as these actually get fished and we figure out how they work. But you get the idea. But you can get quite a few castings out of one of these fast cure resin kits from Joann's. So they say they should be able to demold in 45 minutes. We're going to wait an hour and a half. That's kind of where it worked out for me. And here's the fun part where we actually get to take everything all out, which, keeping in mind, I poured in water, so don't expect too much. But this masking tape can just get tossed, thrown away, and everything's going to be super stuck together, so you kind of have to slowly work the two pieces of silicone apart to kind of start demolding everything. And through the wonders of editing, oh my god, look at this. We've got an actual casting that came out. Everything's looking wonderful. I kind of cheated and I've already cut off some of the casting vents, but we're going to need to cut slash sand those off. A Dremel tool works really well, but it makes a lot of dust. And I'm just going to apologize for these stupid little YouTube, TikTok type things here. But once we get it sanded and everything kind of cleaned off, now we have to start drilling the holes for all of the attachments. But now we get the drill for the line ties and the hook anchors, which this is where having the lead comes in handy because it's a nice soft metal that you can drill through, but it also means you're drilling through lead. So don't be like Rick and leave lead fillings and shavings all over your workbench. And looking at this again, I think if I were to do this again, I'd get a longer drill bit and just drill through the entirety of the front here all at once, just so it's lined up. You have one easy point, and you're not trying to drill in from both sides and meet up at a non-weird angle. And now we're going to drill out where the arm/arm tentacle thingy should be on here. And the kind of fun part about this is you can decide how many attachments you want to make. If we're calling it an octopus, yeah, I know there should be 8, but who cares? Let's not be like certain people about things. I kinda have a feeling just 1 or 2 treble hooks on the back and then just a couple attachments at the front would probably work, but you can kind of play around with this and you can make each one different if you wanted. On this one, it's a little easier because there's a giant air bubble right at the end, so we'll just drill that out. For the line ties, I used, I think it's 0.041 stainless steel safety wire. You can get this at Harbor Freight Tools, but you just put a nail on a workbench, put the rest of the wire loop in your drill chuck off camera for some reason, so everyone's staring at your gut, and then you can put the loop over the nail. Bada bing, bada boom. And there you go. You've got yourself a line tie. Do this about a dozen or so more times, and you've got it all set up. Word to the wise, wear some thick gloves because that is sharp metal and skin is weak. And here we see one of Rick's frequent screw-ups while working on this, but I forgot to edit this one out, so here we go. Yay! Now gluing the attachments in is pretty easy. I used a pair of needle nose pliers to kind of bend the circle into a little bit better of a shape, make sure everything's all straight, and then the side cutters to kind of cut it down to about a half an inch or so, depending how deep we drilled the holes. I don't remember what size drill bit I used, to be completely honest, but it should be just a hair over the size of the wire wrapped together there. And because of the fact that it makes the cute little loops, you can kind of screw it in so that with some super glue, with that little fit friction in there, it'd have to be one heck of a fish to kind of rip those out. You're also going to get some help from the paint and the polyurethane, which I apparently didn't record, but those kind of keep everything in here fairly secure. I don't know if I'd go marlin fishing with it or swordfish, but anything smaller than that hopefully should be taken care of. And you're just going to do this for each of the holes you drilled. Nothing too fancy from here. Definitely make sure you get everything lined up the first time, because once that super glue kicks, it's going to be sitting there, and if you try bending it around, you're going to probably break something. But again, after this, you'll just put on whatever paint you want. I used some acrylics and then some brushed on water-based polyurethane to seal everything, to kind of protect the paint, help keep those hook eyes on, and make it a good finished product. And for some reason, I can't find any video of me doing that. I can't find the photos I took of the finished lures. So instead, for a bonus, I'm going to show you all of the different things I tried just to get to this point. I actually threw away a lot of these just because you get these mutilated half castings that never worked out. I had a whole second mold that was just the arms, but I never pulled a good set of arms off there. I hacked apart the initial mold just to get this far, but it was still getting too many air bubbles trapped in, so you had a lot of voids. I tried using putty and it just looked miserable. The mold I bought also never lined up, so you got this really bad mold seam running down the entire length of the body. I just wasn't happy. But I got the idea for the octopus, so I hacked the leg stumps off, rounded off the rear end, and used some Sculpey to make an octopus head thingy, and it looked okay, and from here I could pull my own mold. And I think this is the first casting from my mold, so there was some detritus and other debris in there the first time around. On the next one, which is orange, I used some Illuminate slow curing resin that I have all over the place. It's actually some clear with some powder mixed in, thinking I'd get some really good translucent effects. But instead, all that happened is it trapped a bajillion air bubbles through there, and it was just a terrible casting. About the only thing I can think to do would be to get a pressure pot and degas the resin before I pull it into the mold and hope it all works out, but I am not set up for that, so I'm just not going to use that, nor would I recommend it. As it is, the fast mold stuff from resin still leaves some air bubbles, especially around the eyes or any sharp corners. I just need to get better at making molds. Like it, I'm happy with what I did. I just don't have that experience yet. And here you can see the lead that we poured in, and that's why I try and keep the mold at an angle so the lead will sit in the lower front area just to kind of keep the weight distribution right. You don't want it going too far up the head there. Here's one that's painted but not polyurethane yet. And this next one, I actually ran out of the fast cure. I didn't have enough for a full mold. And so you kind of get this weird transition where I finished it off with the Illuminate Clear on top. And you get a better idea of what the full casting looks like with the vent pieces that are old Lego pieces I just kind of shoved in the clay. Should be interesting to see if the two resins actually stick together. That's why I have the little steel through wire through them. But other than that, hope you enjoy it. Have fun playing around with the mold. Let me know if you have any questions and enjoy. Bye.